I hope we can start. Yes. A very good afternoon to one and all. Now we are moving to the third session of the day. We have Sajin Ismail to steer the third session of the day on the topic Development of Electric Vehicle Charging Infrastructure and Multi-Stakeholder Governance of EV Charging. I extend a warm welcome to Sajin Ismail once again for another mind-blowing fully charged session. Sajin, over to you.
Thank you, Renu. I'm going to share the PPT now. Can you see this PPT?
Yes, Sajin, yes.
Okay, Renu.
Your PPT is visible and your audio is also perfect.
Okay, thank you, Renu. We had a session in the morning, and after that, it was all about the network issues when an electric vehicle is connected to the grid. Now we are actually moving on to another session that is entirely different from it, even though somewhat related to it. The thing is the development of EV charging infrastructure. I'll be specifically talking about Kerala at the end of it, and what are the developments that happened in Kerala. And apart from that, how EV charging governance is happening. There is multi-stakeholders are there, how these people are involved in it, and what are their specific roles. And as business ventures, as enthusiasts, how to approach EV charging environment, EV e-mobility ecosystem, and how can you be part of it, and what really strikes you as an interesting topic. Like that, you can move on based on an understanding on a multi-stakeholder understanding of EV charging infrastructure. Before that, let me just explain to you the classification of EV charging infrastructure. The topic will be, everything will be about the EV charging infrastructure. Basic from how it is and what are the standards, and finally how can you set up one, and after setting up one, how can you charge using a mobile application. So everything will be covered in this topic. So first of all, classification of EV charging infrastructure. How can you classify an EV charging infrastructure? There are a lot of EV charging infrastructure you can see at home, at different places, at offices. So basically and broadly, we classify them as public, semi-public, and private. So I'll start with private charging. If you have a charging point at your home, in front of your home, it's a private charging. So it is a dedicated charging for an EV personnel who is using an EV, or anyone. It's a fleet also. A person who has a couple of taxis, EV fleet, more than that, he can also take it as a private charging. Only his vehicles are allowed to charge there. Again, these are independent homes or dedicated parkings, and others cannot enter there based on the land availability. Then these are basically individual owners or EV fleet owners, and self-operated. Well, very rarely it will be operated by CPOs. We'll come to the point CPO, what exactly is that later. Now, second type of charging is semi-private charging. The initial one was totally private. Now we have a semi-private. So what exactly is that? These are, if you are living in an apartment complex, there are so many people living in their apartment. There can be a common charging point for everyone using their common amenities. You can take it like that. So inside that gated community, only they can use it. It's a shared thing, not just for one particular person. Even the office buildings, government buildings, it all can be semi-private charging. It is not open to everyone. It's a dedicated use is being there. That is why it's called a semi-private charging. Now the third part is okay. It is actually the thing with the semi-private charging. Since the different users are using, it has to be a CPO managed. It cannot be an open-ended one. Now coming to public charging. So what is public charging? Public charging means a public transport, like that. If a public charging station is being set up, anyone who has an electric vehicle and if his vehicle is adaptable to the charger that is available there, he can definitely go there and charge his vehicle. That is what is called public charging. So this is basically for every EV user. And public parking lots, street parking, charging plazas, petrol pumps, anywhere you can do this. At present, the private involvement in EV charging infrastructure is very less because of many reasons. As someone asked during my first presentation, what are the challenges faced for setting up of EV charging station? I'll come to that in a later phase. The first part of it is in an EV charging setup, so the components that associated with when we set up that, when I'll talk about setting of it, I'll explain that. Anyway, these are the parts classification. Basically, we'll say private, public, and the semi-private charging stations. Now, coming to the stakeholders, the most important stakeholders in an e-mobility system, ecosystem, or EV charging development, infrastructure development, it's government. Because, as I said earlier, there are a lot of issues and a lot of investment anxieties are there from private players. Because I'll come to the issues later, but due to that, as an aggregator or as an implementing agency, government is trying to set up as many stations as possible across the country during many different schemes, including the FAME2 scheme of Department of Heavy Industries of Government of India. Through that, they are doing it so that there will be a number of charging stations set up across the country through government's investment. Now vehicles will come. After that, private investors will also be interested, since there is a revenue coming from that. So in that perspective, the development is going on. So the major players in the development of EV charging infrastructure is, of course, the government stakeholders. So who are they? So many government bodies at the central level, state level, local level are responsible for the governance of EV charging. The roles played by these bodies can be basically classified as policy making. Of course, there are a lot of policy issues should be there, and we'll discuss some of them here. Regulatory function should be there, and execution and executive or implementing functions. So different agencies were given the roles for policy making, regulatory affairs, and implementation. We'll come to each one of them. These government bodies, they are responsible for formulating policies, making regulations, and establishing standards and specifications for EV charging infrastructure. So the first and most important part is there should be an e-mobility policy. The government of Kerala is one of the early runners in setting up of an e-mobility policy. We have a e-mobility policy by 2019. So similarly, Bangalore Electricity Supply Company and Bangalore State has set up e-mobility policy in an early stage. Like many states have come with that. There is a national policy as well. So these government bodies, they have to set up a policy so that this many number of vehicles should be in the market by this time. So that is a very important aspect. Then if you are setting up charging stations, there should be some standards, there should be some regulations. It has to be followed. Otherwise, has to be used by the public. The safety of the public should be ensured. For that, the supply of electricity is again another interesting point about it. This is a concurrent subject. Both the state and central can play with it. So they both can make law in this subject. So because of that, the electricity supply clearly play the pivotal role in setting up of EV charging stations or the development of EV electric vehicles. So both the policymakers has to really intervene. And the most important one is, of course, the Ministry of Power, Government of India. If somebody asks me what are the conditions for setting up of a charging station, I'll ask them, go and read the guidelines and standards prescribed by the Ministry of Power, Government of India. The guidelines and standards, they have published and they have revised it, then they have amended it in 18, 19, and 20. So these years, this has laid out the foundation framework for setting up of EV charging stations. Everything that you need to know if you are interested in setting up a charging station is there in MOP. Some of the points we'll discuss later. But again, this is the most important guideline or the Bible or whatever you can call it for setting up of EV charging station that is being generated by Ministry of Power. The thing is, in its capacity as a legislative authority, the Ministry of Power clarified that the operation of EV charging station services did not require licensing under the Electricity Act 2003. It's a very important thing. That is, many people normally ask us, call us, and inquire, how can I start a charging station? Where should I get the approval? This question has been coming so many times to me personally also. The thing is, under Electricity Act 2003, based on that, and also the Ministry of Power has given a clear guidelines that setting up of charging station does not require any license, because there are licensed activities like power distribution. There should be a distribution license. You can only distribute power. A transmission utility can only transmit power, but generation is not a licensed activity. Anybody can generate. It's a delicensed activity. So again, setting up of EV charging station is a delicensed activity, and specifically Ministry of Power has mentioned that. That is there in the guidelines also. Now the second most important player in this is Central Electricity Authority. As we know, the regulations, technical standards is actually higher standards will be there, but again, the construction standards and regulations for everything that is associated with power rest to CEA, and the Central Electricity Authority has actually come up with a new safety measures and standards for setting up of EV charging stations that you can, if you Google it, you can find it there. So if you are interested in setting up a charging station, what are the standards, how the thing should be, everything that is associated with the installation of electrical power is well defined by the Central Electricity Authority. Now, another major player. Now we have the foundation on how to set up. Now, second part, how to you construct the technical standards, everything there. Now, when you set up that thing, you need to collect money from persons who are charging from there. For that, we need a state regulatory commission is been entrusted to give tariff for that. Actually, the tariff is not for the people who are charging from it. This is for the person who is setting up a EV charging station. That is only those people who are setting the public charging station. If you are setting up a public charging station, that is as per the definitions of the Ministry of Power guidelines, then you will be given a special tariff for EV charging stations. If you are charging at home, you will not give any special tariff. You will be given an additional load. You have to make it as a load only. But if you are setting up a charging point in public for the use of public, it will be called as public charging station, and the tariff for it will be defined in each state by their regulatory commission. In Kerala State Electricity Regulatory Commission has given a tariff for low tension as LT10 and the high tension as HT6, and in which the energy charge that should be borne by the charging station owner is rupees 5 per unit and a fixed charge of 75 for LT. HT, the fixed charge will vary. So the thing is, the second part is the interesting part. If I am the guy who is setting up an EV charging station. Now I feel like I wanna sell it. Yes, of course, somebody, any person who is coming to my charging station, I'm getting for ₹5 per unit. I'm paying it to the distribution company. Now, a person is coming with his vehicle and charging in my charging station. So, what is the amount of money that I should be collecting from him? Actually, Ministry of Power guidelines has clearly mentioned in the first recommendation that state nodal agencies, I'll come to it later, next slide, they can fix it. Who are they and all? Then that ceiling is now removed. Now, if I am setting up a charging station, I can take any amount of money from you. There is no ceiling at all. If I wish, I can sell it for 15 rupees. If I want to sell it for 20 rupees, it's okay. I can sell it to any amount. But the thing is, the people should come. If I'm increasing the amount, people may not come. So it's up to the seller. He can either reduce or increase whatever. So the market is open now. But in case of domestic and private purposes, whatever is your existing tariff, you have to continue with that as an additional load. Charging point is just an additional load. Now coming to another important player is Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So they have come up with some model building bylaws, and some of them need to be amended. They are working on amending it, like that I have heard. The thing is that for setting up a public charging station, they have given a particular dimension of 15 by 7 meters. If you are making in a public location, but it's not clearly mentioned how many chargers should be there. So a lot of clarifications are required still there, and we are also working on that. Now, urban development bodies in states also can make legislations for setting up of EV charging stations. Now, coming to the most important part, the nodal agencies. For setting up a EV charging station across the country and to promote the Go Electric campaign, there is a campaign in India that is running by Bureau of Energy Efficiency, that is the central nodal agency for e-mobility, and their purpose is actually going for Go Electric. Everyone should convert to electric. Even they are suggesting cooking also. EV is a major player in this Go Electric campaign, but again, cooking also they are suggesting that. So they are the central nodal agency. They are actually spearheading the advancements of EV charging infrastructure in India, and they are closely monitoring it. And the data collection of EV charging across the state, also across the country, is also now under the control of Bureau of Energy Efficiency. It was actually earlier handled by Central Electricity Authority. Now, respective state governments can also nominate agencies for respective states. In Kerala, Kerala State Electricity Board is the state nodal agency for the EV charging infrastructure development. And all the states in Bangalore, it is BESCOM, not Bangalore. Karnataka state itself is BESCOM. Like different state has different, mostly distribution companies are the nodal agencies. Sometimes some renewable energy organizations are also there. So as a nodal agency, KSEBL's responsibility is to set up maximum number of charging stations under various funds. And one of the major funding agency in India is Department of Heavy Industries, and they are providing grant for setting up of EV charging stations across India. And on only metro cities and million plus cities like that, some classifications are there. In different places, they are giving funds for equipments up to 70%. So there are some constraints and issues relating to that is there. It was up to 2022 the FAME 2 scheme was being phase 2 was being organized, but due to the pandemic and situations, the development is not as much as expected, and hence it is being extended up to 2024 by Department of Heavy Industries. Now, as we can see, there are a lot of agencies are involved in the development of EV charging infrastructure. Since these many agencies are there, the close coordination and the support from each other is required for developing it. So state nodal agencies, distribution companies, urban development authorities, transport organizations, departments, transport undertakings, everyone should be there. Like then only actually the implementation of EV charging infrastructure can be well moved ahead if public transport is being converted to electric vehicles. So like buses and all. For that, there is a close cooperation between the transport and power public sector undertakings. As I said, when there is a huge demand, there are a lot of issues, and those should be tackled. That's another subject that we discussed in the morning. Now, coming to the e-mobility ecosystem. So who all are the real stakeholders inside an e-mobility ecosystem? There are a lot of parties are there that we should know. The first one is the charge point operator. This is a very, very important player in an EV ecosystem. A charge point operator is a company which is operating a pool of charging points. If I have a charging point and you have, everyone else has a charging point, but in order to operate it, I cannot simply buy a charging station alone. It need to be operated using a mobile application. The payment should be done online. The slots to be booked like that, and there should be a management of these stations using a central management system. These things are being provided by charge point operating companies. There are many charge point operator companies are there in the country, like Electrify, charge grid, iCharge, like many operators are coming. Some white label solution players are also there. So these charge point operators provides value by connecting smart charging devices to electric mobility supply service providers. So I am a service provider. I have a charging station. I'll give people charges to for charging. So, but in order to manage these charging stations, I cannot do it alone. I need a charge point operator. So if it is a public charging station, so I cannot make a charge, I cannot work as a charge point operator for single charging station. It's not worth it because a lot of investment is required for setting up a central management system and applications, everything associated with. Now coming to e-mobility service provider, as I said, e-mobility service provider is someone who offers EV charging services to EV drivers. They provide access to charging points within the e-mobility service providers network or other networks via e-roaming. I think the protocols, the communication standards, there's a big subject in electric vehicle charging infrastructure, the software part and communication. I think you will have a session on it by some expert in it. I'm not going to that part. That's a very advanced parts like the OCPP control, open charge protocol, charge point protocol, and similarly OCPI, roaming protocol. There are a lot of things that is actually the heart of the EV charging environment that connects every charging stations together. Now coming to the another major player, any electric vehicle charging stations to run, the fuel is electricity. So the distribution companies play the most pivotal role, and if they, as we said, when we supply, there are issues, there are things, many things are there. It has to be really managed using a well coordinated communication between the charge point operator. So they also play a very significant role in this. Now coming to the e-mobility, electrical mobility ecosystem. So as I said, we are going to a charging station. This is the electric vehicle. The charging point this is the charging point, and this is actually provided by a CPO and e-mobility service provider. A charge point operator can set up a charging station. He can also act as an e-mobility service provider. An e-mobility service provider can ask for a CPO. So in Kerala State Electricity Board is an e-mobility service provider. We have a charging station, but we don't have a charge point operator. So we'll have to hire someone to operate it. So we'll buy from them and we'll make it white label. Whatever it is, there is a CPO is required. Then the next part is the distribution and transmission companies, because they are the one who actually provide the power and which is required for charging the electric vehicle. And finally, the energy generation, of course. And in order to tie them up all together, the regulating authorities, we have discussed about them in the initial slide. This actually forms the EV ecosystem. This is again how the total system works. Now you can see an aggregator, the charge point operators, the aggregator has to bring them all together. This is a very complex environment actually. So a lot of people has to work in tandem to make it run properly, because you can see starting from there is a fleet manager will provide e-mobility services. There is a driver is there, electric vehicle is there, there's a grid is there. So this is a complex structure that's been showing there as an e-mobility ecosystem. And again, we have discussed about the V2G and G2V, vehicle to grid and grid to vehicle. Those systems are also possible. These are different pictures of the e-mobility ecosystem. This is how the ecosystem actually works. Now I'll briefly talk about the EV charging standards that you might have come across, just for a briefing. Then only I can go to the next point, where how to set up a charging station, because you should understand which all vehicles are available in market, and you should understand why should you invest or why should you go for setting up a charging station. And when you ideally set up a charging station, which all charges you actually require, and what is the current status of vehicles with those charges. These things are very important. As we primarily know, charging is basically classified into AC and DC charging. So AC charging is, of course, I'll come to the slide itself. We know that AC charging is a slow charging practice, because the converter is inside the vehicle. That is simply because it is slow. because the limitation of the charging onboard converter capacity is the one reducing AC charging. Actually, for a battery, AC charging is better rather than providing high capacity DC charging. It actually it gives more life cycle to a battery. But the problem is, if you are making an AC charger, onboard charger bigger, instead of a four-wheeler, you'll have to make a lorry, because that much size will require. Uh, that is why, due to the size constraints, we have onboard charger at a very small capacity, like 3 kW. Like Hyundai has a vehicle, Kona, it has a capacity up to 7 kW. Some other vehicles are coming up to 20 kW, 22 kW. I heard like that from Audi and some other electric manufacturers. Like, again, the space that require for it is not small. That is why the onboard charging or AC charging is slow. As we know, the DC charging is direct. We are directly giving power, DC power, to the battery, and it's a static one. There is no movement. It is not inside the vehicle. So that's why maximum power can be transferred to the vehicle directly. That is the importance of DC fast charging stations. But the problem is, when you set up a DC fast charging station, the investment will be high. So if you are setting up a 3.3 kW into 3 units charging point, it will cost up to 50,000 rupees for you, a charging unit. But you are setting up a bigger charging station, it will cost up to 10 to 15 lakhs, charging equipment itself, and the associated works are there. Now, coming to the public and commercial car charging uses, you can see these are two different kind of charging. One is destination charging, and another one is en-route charging. Destination is, as you know, if you're going to home, you can charge at home, and if you're going to an office, you can keep the vehicle there; it will be charged. But they're all, you don't need the fast chargers. The AC slow charger will do the work. You don't need much of a infrastructure development also. But when it comes to fast charging, and in your traveling, you're traveling from Trivandrum to Bangalore, or Cochin to Bangalore, or Bangalore to Delhi. On the way, you need en route charges, so that then only you can complete the travel. Otherwise, you'll have to sit somewhere and charge for 8 to 10 hours. That is not possible in a long journey. So in that case, we need fast charging, DC fast charging devices. So and again, the communication is another major aspect of the charging. As I said earlier, the communication between the vehicle and the charger is very key, and the charger to charge point operator is another important aspect. So these things should be there. The communication, actually, at home and all, there is not if you are directly connecting to the plug, it is a mode 1 charging. There is no communication at all. It's absolutely no communication between the charger and vehicle. But in mode 2, during the when you connect the charger to the vehicle to the charger, there will be initial handshaking, initial stage only, just an initial communication. Then throughout charging, there is no communication at all. But in case of mode 3 charging, there is a difference. Actually, what happens in mode 3 charging is, when you are charging using a mode 3 charger, uh, what happens is, this is a communication is there throughout charging. I am keeping a vehicle there, and I'm plugging it to the charge point. So what happens is, throughout the charging, the battery will tell the charger how much power I need, how much current I need. So there is a rate of charging will be determined by the battery, and it will be communicated to the charger. And if the battery is not feeling that in order to save the battery cycle and the battery life, there should be a specific charging, 0 to 20 this percentage, 20 to 80 rapid, then 80 to 100, then it's slow. Like that, they will tell based upon the capacity of the battery at that particular moment. It will explain it to the charger. So like that, there are control points are there inside the charges. If you have studied the charging standards of different charge point chargers, that connectors, then you might have seen the control pins and proximity pins. The control pins will tell them when they are engaged, it will tell the charger this much power is required. Like proximity pin will ensure that the vehicle will not move during the charging. So this is how the modes of charging is working. Mode 4 is nothing but the same as that of mode 3. Mode 1 and 2, 3 is AC charging. Mode 4 is DC charging in mode 3. That's it. Whereas a conversion is happening and we are providing DC directly, communication is all the same. So before going further of on describing how to set up a charging station, I would like to briefly remind you again, even if you understand this, some of the charger types. What are the predominant types and some of the issues associated with them? As we know, these charger connectors are actually varying from country to country. This is actually a geographical phenomenon. If you go to North America, we'll see a type 1 charger for AC. In Japan also. In India, in Europe, we'll call it as type 2. If somebody is telling you a type 1 charger, can I get a type 1 charger in India? No, of course you will not get it. There is no type 1 charger in India. In India, only type 2. Similarly, in China, it is called GBT, and this GB bar T is converted into India as called DC001. That is the adopted standard by Government of India. Sorry, in AC it is called AC001. This is an AC charger. DC it is being called as DC001. My point is, connectors actually vary from country to country, vehicle to vehicle. And that is another problem of setting up a charging station. If you have a charging station, you are having numerous number of chargers and connectors are there, and which is not at all useful for any of the vehicles available in market. You're totally been your money is spoiled actually. So that is why when you set up a charging station, you should actually know which charging points you should set up. Otherwise, even Government of India is giving grants and they are providing this much standards, but most of them are vehicles are not at all available in market. So when you go for grants, these issues are there. So you will see DC fast charging. Okay, this is very important part. DC fast chargers are actually the public charging points. As I said earlier, AC charging, the 4-wheelers and above may not use it. For 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers, they may use it. Now coming to the CHAdeMO part, that is the fast charger. This is a charger standard that you might be knowing. This is called CHAdeMO, Charge They Move. This is actually a Japanese standard. East Asia preferred, actually China also, they are following some of them CHAdeMO. These are the vehicles associated with. Why I want to show a CHAdeMO to you is, CHAdeMO is a good standard which will allow the vehicle to be charged in a faster rate. These are the vehicles associated with manufacturers. But the problem is, in India, so far no vehicle has come out in CHAdeMO. That is a big problem. Why it is a big problem is, under the government schemes and all, we have set up many charging stations across in India, not just KSEBL, many aggregators, expecting that vehicles from CHAdeMO will come. But so far, no idea whether this vehicle will come or not. But there are numerous charging stations are already set up. We are even setting up now. With the grant, you have to set it up. And when you set it up, what are the issues is not just the investment in charger. The problem is, when you set up a CHAdeMO charger, for example, it is 60 kW charger. When you set this up, 60 kW plus another 60 kW will go to 120 kW. That means high tension connection is required. You need to set up a distribution transformer. You need to set up line constructions for HT, it will go more than 5 to 6 lakhs in that area itself. Then the upstream will cost this much. Then the downstream electricity supply connection will be there. Then the site development, everything will go up to a huge amount. And this amount is not viable at present because the number of vehicles in the market is less. That is why the private investors are hesitating in investing in EV charging infrastructure as of now. This is an example of CHAdeMO. This is a Nissan Leaf. This is a vehicle that is not available in India so far. This is actually running in CHAdeMO protocol. Actually, this was in Europe. They have converted into another protocol that is called this is Kia EV Soul. Kia Soul is on another major electric vehicle that is available across the world. This is also in CHAdeMO protocol. Now coming to CCS, combo charging system. So this is actually a European standard, and this is a common standard we are also adopting. Let me tell you specifically, any electric vehicle we say in India, a premium one, a premium means the capacity should be higher than 30 kW and above, whichever it is, they are using this standard. This is a combined charging system. So you might be understanding that this is type 2 plus DC. Type 2 is the only AC point. As you can see, this is the type 2 part. The upper part is type 2 and the lower part is T. These two fat pins are DC. Therefore, DC transaction. And you might have learned that this CCS is using a power line communication. When CCS is engaged, these three pins will act as communication points as power. These AC pins will act as act for power line communication. The protocol is communication is power line. In CHAdeMO, it is CAN communication. So the thing that we should understand is in India, we are following this European standard. I'll show you the vehicles. So we have a Tata Nexon. This is a Tata Nexon is the major electric vehicle that's been moving. In Kerala itself, 1,300 plus electric vehicles have been sold last year in this brand alone. So this is a charging station set up by Kerala State Electricity Board in Kerala. This is where we are charging at Tata Nexon here. So the protocol here is CCS2. Actually, this is the major vehicle. Now coming to another vehicle, Hyundai Kona. This is also following the same protocol. This is another charging station of Kerala State Electricity Board where we are charging Hyundai Kona using this CCS2 charger. Another vehicle that is actually using EV charging setup is like, and at present in India, which one is available is MG EV. This is a good vehicle again. Here also the protocol is CCS2. Even though this vehicle is made from China, they are not following CCS2. They are following CHAdeMO and GB bar T. So the problem is that I don't have the map in this presentation. When you go to an EV charging infrastructure map across the world, there will be a huge shade for CCS2 in premium vehicles. Because Europe and many major countries like India, we are adopting CCS2. So the thing is the government having decided on it, and we have repeatedly informing to the Ministry of Power also during our meetings that there should be a common standard. That standard should be there. Otherwise, the investors and the vehicles, there is a confusion among everywhere. Which kind of charging station should I set up? This is also available. These manufacturers are there. They are setting up. They are developing CHAdeMO chargers. We have CHAdeMO chargers. I'll show you this. This is a charging station. This is a gun, which is not using. This is a CHAdeMO gun. So even we have such a charger. We have spent money on that, and people are spending again. If the manufacturers, EV charging manufacturers, are also manufacturing it without knowing whether it will come or not. So there is a chaos in it. So a similar situation is there in battery swapping. I'll come to that date. I have not kept any presentation slides about battery swapping, but I'll tell you about it. Coming to another charging standard is GB bar T. GB bar T is another standard. As I told you, this has been called in India as DC001 and AC001 for AC charger, AC, and DC charger, DC001. The vehicles that we use is one is Tata Tigor. Another one is Mahindra E-Verito. Then Mahindra E2O. These vehicles, they are using it. The problem with these vehicles are their battery capacity. The battery pack voltage of Chinese standards is either 48 volt or 72 volt. But you can see in CHAdeMO or CCS, the voltage is higher. 500 volt DC is there. Now they are extending up to 920 also. So the standards, voltage standard is very high. That is why they can use for higher voltage capacity batteries as well. This is issue with these vehicles and their limited operation. You cannot take them for a long range travel. Only 100 or 120 kilometer range you will get maximum. So you cannot rely on them. Now coming to the major part, and throughout this presentation, I would like to tell you one thing. This presentation is mostly about the governance and setting up of EV charging stations and associated things. So I would like to give you the ideas about it, and I would like to have you questions regarding them so that we can have a discussion about it on setting up of charging stations and your viewpoints and understandings on what are the difficulties that you are facing in setting up of charging stations, and so that that can be brought to the policymakers so that the environment should adapt EV charging systems and should more vehicles come to this market. So the first point is, who all can set up a public charging station? The first point is anyone. My answer is anyone can set up a public charging station. So as I explained earlier, it has been clearly mentioned that it's a de-licensed activity. Any individual like me or entity like an organization or college or anyone who is free to set up a public charging station, but provided that such station shall meet the technical, safety as well as performance standards and protocols stipulated by CEA and Ministry of Power. This is the exact line that has been mentioned in the revised standards and guidelines of Government Ministry of Power 2019. So in which clearly mentioned that any individual is free to set up charging station, but the important point there is you have to follow the protocol. And one important protocol there is the charger that you use in a public charging station, it should be an NABL accredited laboratory certified charger. That means ARAI, Automotive Research Authority of India, or ICAT is another organization that is providing certification. So it should be certified charger. So that is very important thing. If you are interested in setting up a charging station, it's okay. If it is public, I'm talking private, no issues, or captive stations also no issues. You can set up any charger you want. But public, if you are keeping it, the safety of public is very important, because in many countries, not in many countries, actually in China also, there was some explosion while charging. That is because quality of charger has been compromised or some other issue that's not been revealed well. But again, the standard should be there. The EMI EMC effect should not affect the person who is having issues with that. So it should not make a pacemaker is there and he's approaching it, EMI EMC is not compatible, then it can affect and it can actually kill the person. So like that, when you set up a charging station, this thing should be in your mind that you should set up a charging station where the charger is ARI or any approved NABL accredited charger. Now, any person seeking to set up a public charging station may apply for connectivity, and he shall be provided connectivity on priority by the distribution company licensee to supply power in that area. So I'm a person who is interested in setting up a charging station. So what should I do is, I'll say step one, you find someone who can actually set up a charging station, a project, a contractor, and you study about it. So what are the vehicles we have just shown you the type of vehicles available in market. So make a study which all vehicles are available in your market. So which charger should I go for, what capacity, how many charging points should I need. After that you get the proposals from different people, and actually the charging infrastructure when you set up, it is not the charger alone, it is not the only part. I would broadly say there are four components in setting up of an EV charging station. The first one is the upstream electrical network. That is a major player there, because if you need a supply which is like 80 to 100 kW you require, you need a transformer nearby which can provide that much power. Mostly most of our transformers will be overloaded, some of them will be in the margin level. So when you go to utility, they will say we cannot provide you power. If you want power, you have to set up a transformer, and you have to construct a line. If the line is not available, if three-phase line is not, 11 kV line is not there, HT line has to be drawn there. That way, that is costly affair. And you have to draw an high tension line and a transformer, then again a low tension line. This is a very costly affair. So when you set up a charging station, this part should be there. The utility companies cannot simply give you that, because if they are setting up it, it will go to the tariff. So they are making so much of this, and there is so much of money being the loan is being taken from different places, and they are putting up of this infrastructure. Whenever you give an application, what will happen is, at present the electricity rate is 5. After setting up of 100 charging station, it will go to 10 rupees, even for domestic user, because the capital has been increased heavily, and the utility companies on loan, and they are putting so much money into this. So they will definitely not go for that. So they will suggest you mostly you have to pay this much amount of money for the set. They will give you the estimate of charging station. So what you have to do is, you have to go and set up this much of amount in the upstream network. So then come the downstream, the panels, the cables, everything associated with that. Again, this is not the end. The most important part is the land, where you put this charging station. You cannot put it in some remote location and expect people to come there, even though it is operated by navigations. So it has to be a prime location. The price of the land, that is very, very important. Some places even people are charging for parking also. If you are charging a vehicle, you have to pay an additional amount for parking there in cities like Mumbai. So that is another major concern. Then the important part is electric vehicle equipment and the civil works associated. You have to level the location and make everything available. Then only the equipment will come. The equipment has to be in good quality, has to be the right one. That is actually based on the demand of the vehicles. The vehicle actually running for longer locations. And when you put a charging station in a location, for example, I'll tell you, uh, from one point to another point, if the point is an end point where people are coming and they are not traveling, they are going to relax there, do not put charging point there, because no one will charge. They need charging station on traveling en route. It's not a petroleum product. You will get it to your home also, anywhere you will get it. But these public charging stations are being provided only to give in a faster pace. You can charge it at a higher and a faster time, so that the placement of charging stations are very, very important. The key placement of charging stations and ideal placement can itself be a project. Anyone who is interested can come study this. There are softwares and their studies are there, but a comparative analysis and study based on the power available there, then how it will affect the distribution network, how the density of the traffic and the available vehicles in that area, the possible vehicles traveling those areas, these parameters should be taken into consideration, and you can set up a study into that and finally come with a software where you can enter these parameters, and you can ideally find a location where you can put a charging station. Like that, these things should be kept in mind when you are setting up a charging station. So these are some of the points that I have just mentioned. For the above guidelines, EVSC shall mean an element in EV charging infrastructure. So I think you are clear with the idea. Now coming to the Ministry of Power charging infrastructure for electric vehicles guidelines and standards. So what are the standards? An exclusive transformer with all related substation equipments, including safety appliances if required. Again, the point is if required. If you need a transformer there, it should be there. Otherwise, it will affect all the nearby loads. If a present transformer is there, it is 80% to 90% loaded, and you are asking for a 60 kW power allocation, it cannot give that. You have to set up it if it is required. The line works that I told you earlier, this is required. Then appropriate civil works, cabling, electrical works for safety, adequate space for charging and entry and exit of vehicles. It's very important. If you're going to a charging station, the most important thing is your vehicle should be able to enter there, and it should be able to come out also in a very smooth way. So that should be ensured. Public charging stations shall have any one or more chargers or any combination of chargers from the table. That is what you need to see. This is actually mentioned in the guidelines. That is, if you are setting up a fast charging station, a combined charging system, minimum 50 kW should be there. One gun. Similarly, a Chadamo gun, it is there, 50 kW. You need to put there. And type 2 AC is there, one gun. Type 2 AC is minimum 22 kW capacity the government of India is telling. I still don't understand why they are telling it, because so far no vehicle is coming up with 22 kW. I am just hearing premium vehicles are coming up with that. But except AC charging on the en route, people might not be using it at all. So what we need is more DC chargers on traveling. There is no absolute requirement of AC charging. It is required for two-wheelers and three-wheelers. It can be placed. And you can see the slow and moderate charger types in the second part. This is Bharat 001, DC 001, 50 kW, where you can, the voltage is 48 volt or 72 volt, I told you. So these chargers are actually for DC chargers are actually for limited number of vehicles. I don't know what is going to be the future about them. There are a lot of chargers that's been placed across the country, but how many vehicles will come in the future because of its limited applicability, that we need to see and understand. Okay, another point is charging stations for two-wheelers and three-wheelers shall be free to install any charger other than those specified in the table. Okay, two-wheelers and three-wheelers, you understand that. Let me tell you, two-wheelers and three-wheelers, there is no DC charging required, only AC charging, because maximum capacity is 6 kW. We have a 3.3 kW plus chargers are there, so that's enough. So another point that I would like to tell you is tie-up. Again, before that, these charges for two-wheelers and three-wheelers, what I would suggest is, instead of charges in two-wheelers and three-wheelers, the technology that we should consider is battery swapping. Battery swapping is a good technology where you are going to a charging station, you are taking your battery out, the swap in the swapping unit, you are putting that battery and taking a new battery and putting it back to your vehicle, two-wheeler or three-wheeler, and you're going just 2 minutes time. It's easier than fuel, petrol or diesel filling, and it's very efficient also. And that should be the industry that should grow. But the problem, why it is not growing, it's very easy. Then people should easily adapt into it. And sometimes the electric autos, their costing is like 0.5 per kilometer, up to 1 rupee. That is the operational cost of this electric autos. So with that electric auto, the auto rickshaw travel rate, that can also come down substantially, and the owners can make good amount of money also. But why is it not popularizing? There the issue is the battery swapping technology. The problem is the charging standards, the batteries, they are not standardized. If I have a auto, say Piaggio, I should go for their swapping point. I cannot go to another point. They should set up. Another company, Bajaj is coming. Another company, Sun Mobility is coming. Many people are there, but these are all vendor specific. The batteries are all vendor specific, and they are blindly following the 78 or 48 volt capacity of Chinese standards and assembling it. So that is why we cannot make it as an industry. Only if the battery swapping will become an original equipment manufacturer industry, then only there will be growth in two-wheeler, three-wheeler segment. And if that will be standardized, the growth of electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers will be phenomenal, because anyone who is interested can go and take it, and it's a charging is not at all an issue there, because you have to simply go and blindly take it out and put it back. It's a 2-minute job. So for instead of charging points, I would really suggest battery swapping, but at present it is not possible. The standards are not there, and the vendors are not ready to make it into a standard, because they're afraid their product might not sell much. Now coming to another point of setting up of charging station is a network service provider. If you are setting up of a public charging station, you should know that should be a network service provider. You should tie up with them, because if you are, I'll just show you in later slide how this been done using an actual charge point operator. Then why the network connection should be there, how you should book, and how the slots are being booked, things like that. Okay. Why? Because the charging data is very important, and it contains a lot of private information also, and it should come to the state nodal agency and center nodal agency. And again, final and most important point, the electric vehicle supply equipment shall be type tested by an agency lab accredited by NABL from time to time. It's very important, otherwise you cannot put this charger there. Now, coming to the development of Kerala State Electricity Board, I'd like to tell you a few things about it. Kerala State Electricity Board is being designated as the state nodal agency for EV charging infrastructure development. Before that, in 2019, KSEBL has set up a private charging station inside the Kerala Secretariat. That is the first charging station in Kerala. That was not a public charging station. After that, Kerala government has come up with an e-mobility promotion fund, the Transport Department of Government of Kerala, and they have transferred some money to Power Department. So KSEBL has started setting up of charging stations, and 6 charging stations in 6 corporations of Kerala has been completed, and it is open to public in last November 2020. And we gave, in order to popularize this aspect, till last month we gave it for absolutely free for the EV chargers to EV owners to use it. We have, these are all fast charging stations. You can see 2 charging station points there. This is, we have 2 points in this, 2 guns are there in this charging unit. One is CCS and one is Chadamo. Here is DC001, all DC fast chargers. So this is one in Thrissur district. Another one, this is in Calicut. 2 places in Kerala, like 6 were there. So what we did is, in order to maximum popularize it, people can go and use these charging stations at their free will, for free, of course. Last month end only, we have made it to a payment that's been affected only by last week only. Before that, in order to popularize it, we have given maximum effort in bringing people to use of electric vehicles and the comfort and luxury of using it. Then after that, under the e-mobility promotion fund of Government of Kerala, we have moved further ahead, and in that we are setting up 26 additional charging stations. The work is going on now. It will be realized within a couple of months, hopefully. So after apart from that, the Department of Heavy Industries FAME 2 scheme, fast adoption of electric and hybrid vehicles, scheme 2, that's I said earlier. We were one of the implementing agencies of FAME 2 in Kerala. So 30 charging stations work is undergoing in major cities like Cochin, Thrissur, Calicut, Kannur, and Kannur. So the work is going on there as well. By the end of this year, hopefully 56 charging stations will be completed in Kerala, additionally apart from the 6 charging stations, so that anyone who is interested in traveling from Kerala's one district to the last district, we have 14 districts in Kerala, across the state, anybody can easily travel like that, without any anxiety. The range anxiety is the biggest concern for any EV charger owner, because if I travel from one district to another, will I be reaching home? If I start from one place to an end route, will I reach there? A lot of anxieties are being expressed by many of the EV users. In order to mitigate those anxieties, we are setting up this much charging stations. Apart from us, another agency, that is UNERT, Agency for New and Renewable Energy Source Energy Agency, Kerala. They have tied up with ESL. ESL is Energy Efficiency Service Limited. This is a joint venture by different public sector undertakings of Government of India. So they are also into the field of EV charging infrastructure. They have together with Anand, they have set up 6 to 7 stations in Kerala also. So they are also working on 15 more of them. By the end of this year, I think hopefully we'll have 70 to 80 charging stations in Kerala, and the EV owners and potential interested people in Kerala can really afford to buy and convert their conventional electric vehicles to electric vehicles. Not actually conversion, it's a replacement what I'm talking about. And hopefully more electric vehicles will come to the market as well, so that at present we have only few vehicles. That's why the choosing and the rate, as we discussed in the morning, the rate of electric vehicles are also slightly high as the changes in the battery battery, which is the key player, because the battery price will when come down, the price of all the electric vehicles will come down, and there will be an absolute revolution, and the infrastructure will be ready by that time, and the people, the private investors will be happy to invest because of the number of vehicles. And we are working on many aspects to improve this condition in Kerala, like that all these states are also working in tandem. And Bangalore Electricity Supply Company is one of those organizations. They have set up many charging stations. I have seen their presentation. Like that, many states, Andhra Pradesh, Delhi, Maharashtra, and Gujarat, they have very excellent EV policies. They're also working on that. And also at the same time, in order to help two-wheeler and three-wheelers, we have come up with a new proposal, that is pole mounted charging stations. In distributed poles, we are trying to put up charging stations there, small charging units, where the electric autos and two-wheelers can charge at the time. In only the space is not required there, in poles where it is actually possible to put charging points. Like that, the proposal is running. Actually, it is awaiting approval. Once we clear that, we will try that possibility of setting up of EV chargers in poles as well. Now, I'll just explain a couple of things and I'll conclude this presentation. And I would like to have a discussion with all of you regarding the development of charging stations across your states and your concerns regarding that. It will be helpful for me as well. So, this is an application that we use in Kerala. In one of our in 6 of our charging stations. This charge point operator's name is Electrify. So I hope you can see the video there. The first step is we have to plug this. The connector is taken from the charger point, and now you are connecting to the vehicle.
Sajin, the video is not playing, Sajin.
You can't see it.
Yeah, we can see it's just showing the first screen, electrify, that animation. It's just showing, that's it.
Okay, I'll play it again. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'll come to this point again. So the vehicle is coming now. We are taking the gun from the charger point. So you can see a QR code there. This is a player. Using the QR code, you can make the payment and engage the vehicle. Now you are inserting the gun there inside the vehicle. Now you are taking this mobile application. This mobile application is very important. When you open this mobile application, you can select quick charging. You click there. Now when you click the quick charging option, there will be a scanning option will come. You can take your mobile and go to the charger. You can scan the QR code. So after that, what happens is another window will come, in which there will be a lot of questions. How do you want to charge it? Like again, the connector type you have to decide. For each vehicle, the connector will be different. You know that. So again, they will ask, what is the duration, how much time do you need to charge. Or if I say I want to charge for 100 rupees, you can choose this option. You can state of charge, I want to charge from 50% to 80%, my vehicle is now 20%, I want to charge to 70%. Or you can select for the number of, I want to charge 10 units. So you can choose any option. Here he has taken for amount, that is 100 rupees. SOC units, so any option you can choose. Now an OTP will come, or you can initiate charging using your mobile. Now this is the screen. This is the screen where you can see the vehicle is being getting charged. From this 60% you can see up to whatever percentage that you're supposed to charge, you can see it, the charging. The window will keep on showing like that. Now it is reached 80%. Now I said it's enough. Connector unlocked successfully. I have unlocked the connector. Now the bill will come. Look at this. This bill has come. Total amount including taxes is like 35 rupees. It's a small time they have charged for demonstration. Now we have different options. There are wallets. You can directly pay from the gateway using your debit card, credit card, whatever option is there. You can just pay it and complete it. So the next part is unplug it and put it back where it belongs to. So this is how the operation of EV charger happens. Now this is actually using QR code. Now I'll just show you one more video. That is, if you want to advance the reservations, like I don't think you can see the video, right?
Yes, we cannot see the video, Sajin.
Okay. Let me check. I'm sorry, I cannot play it now. Anyway, this is actually similar to it. There is an option that I'll show you in the next slide. Okay, I'll go for the next slide then. Can you see this slide?
No, Sajin, we can't see your presentation also.
Okay. Okay, I'll play tab. Can you see this now?
Yeah, it's coming.
Yes, it is visible.
This video is visible.
Yes.
Okay. Now coming to this, how to reserve a charging slot using an application. If I'm planning to charge my vehicle at 3 p.m. today, unlike going to a fuel station, you cannot charge it for 2 minutes and leave. So you need to have at least 30 to 40 minutes there for full charging. So you cannot expect when you go there will be one gun and already a person is charging. So you will have to wait there for a long time. So in order to avoid that situation, you can reserve the charging like this. So you can, when you open the window, you can see a lot of charging points. You can see, you can select any one of them. So when you open that, you will see this is in Noida ESL charging station. You can see the option book charging. This option is there. You click the book charging option. Now the gun has come. This is AC gun is there. There is an option of view schedule and book now. We can book now. The schedule has come. The time and date, everything is there. You have to book a slot. Now you have booked it. The estimated price is also shown. 195 rupees, it's shown there. You have given a time also. Now take the charging details from the menu. Now when you take that, it's already been booked this time. So you only need to initiate charging. The rest of the process is the same. You have to unlock it and do the rest. I hope you understand this. I'll come back to my presentation. So this is how, and if anyone of you haven't used an EV charging mobile application, you can download this one or iCharge, and there is an application called Charge Mode. The company, they have one application, so many people are there, so you can experience it. Even if you don't own an electric vehicle, you can check it. So these are the steps now. The book in advance, want to charge your EV. So these are we are like in every one of our charging stations, we are keeping this picture so that anyone who does not understand it. And we must understand these charging stations are unmanned charging stations. There is nobody to help you out. So you should go and follow your instructions and charge it and leave. Like the gas stations you have seen abroad, this is not going to be a manned operation. We don't need people there. There will be CCTV surveillance 24/7. We'll be seeing whoever coming and going. Everything, whoever is been charging, it's all through the system. So we know who is coming and who is going. So this is how an EV charging station is operating in it's a public charging station. As I said, private home charging station does not read any of things. So these components should be there when you set up a charging station. So with this, I would like to conclude the presentation where I have talked about the setting up of charging stations, the parties involved with it, some of the issues that we face during setting up of charging station, and what have we reached in Kerala in setting up of charging stations, and the associated developments with it. So I hope you have some idea about it. If you have any clarifications, queries, or discussions, anything, all are welcome. If I know, I can answer you, or I'll get to you by clarifying it from someone else. Thank you, Renew and College of Engineering, Talashiri, for giving this wonderful opportunity to interact with you people from across the country. This is a great opportunity. I'm thanking you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Sajin. That was indeed a mind-blowing session. Especially, I like the app which you explained at the last, Electrify. Just like how we are booking the cinema tickets through Book My Show, we can do a reservation for EV vehicle charging, and we can simply drive to the EV charging stations and charge it and go. That is simply an awesome technology. After seeing all this, even I am getting motivated to have one electric vehicle, but the cost is very high, so I have to wait further.
It will come down. Again,
Yeah, hope so.
this is how it will work. All the charge operators will be like this, and this technology. This is actually this is the way it works. All the electric
Yes, yes,
vehicles.
yes, yes. Sajin Ismail has very clearly explained the step-by-step procedure to set up a private charging station. Hope some of our participants also might be interested in setting up one or other if they are having a good location. Just like what Sajin has mentioned, the main concern regarding the setting up of this charging station is location. So if any of our participants are interested in setting up a charging station, he has very clearly explained the step-by-step procedure for the same. So if you are having any queries regarding the same, please have a discussion with him now. Sajin, numerous messages are coming in the chat saying that your session is a wonderful, very informative session, fruitful session, very good information had been shared. Numerous messages are popping. I don't know why the participants are not willing to come forward and say it.
It's okay. Thank you all. If you have anything to discuss about, we can discuss. Don't consider it as a
Yes,
formal occasion,
yes,
because the
participants, please come
development of
forward.
EV ecosystem is actually need for all of us as electrical engineers. We should be the players playing a pivotal role in the development of EV charge ecosystem.
Uh,
So
uh, hi Sajid. Your session was quite informative. This is Abhishek Singh from JSS Noida.
hello,
Actually,
Abhishek.
yeah, actually, I would like to have some information about the profitability of such charging system, because as you have quoted the example of the Noida itself, the public places, their rent is quite high.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see that somebody is investing this much of money after the subsidy, obviously given by the government? But
Mm-hmm.
what are the profitability?
Mm-hmm. Okay, the possibilities actually, what I have come across is, as I told you, the issue is on his land. So if a landowner, I am a landowner, I have a good land there, but I don't have the money to invest for EV charging station. If you have the money to invest there in that location, but you don't have the land, and another problem is the network that it has to be developed. It should be developed as a coexisting and cooperational way only. What is if EV manufacturer like bigger companies like Tata, MG, these people want to sell more vehicles. If they are coming forward and ready to invest in these locations, and if they can make a pact with the landowners, an agreement, so that the landowners will be paid off handsomely, and the distribution companies and the government agencies is ready to enhance the network from their account, then the amount of sharing in this investment will reduce to a significant in these three people, and more number of charging stations can be set up, and the electric vehicle population will increase as more charging stations are there. So this is how only this can be developed. A single individual cannot do anything about it. It should be a coexistence situation. It can develop in a cooperative way only.
Yeah, agree. But the public charging infrastructure, more or less, if we talk about cinema halls or we talk about our shopping malls, they are typically having AC system.
Sorry.
Okay. They are typically having AC grid, na? They
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
work on DC system. Okay. So and we all know that this AC system is less efficient as compared to DC.
I don't think so. Actually, AC system and DC system has nothing to do with this for me, because the grid is only AC. That is true. What your question is, I don't understand.
Basically, I want to know if some person is investing X amount of money.
Okay.
Okay, what will be the profitability of that person? How much time it will take to get the revenue generated and
Yeah, okay, revenue generation. Okay, that
yeah.
again, the important problem is if you are setting up a charging station where you have four guns are there, four vehicles can be simultaneously charged. For example, the total power requirement is 120 kW. Four vehicles can be charged. If the capacity utilization factor of 120 kW is more than 25 to 45%, the revenue will be, operation revenue will be from the first month itself. operational profit, and you will get your money back within 4 to 5 years. But the problem here is the number of vehicles are not there.
Yes.
If the vehicles will be increased, it will again change. The capacity utilization factor is there. Only 5% or less than 5% is there. That is why people are not coming forward, and the government is putting charging stations there, so that vehicle will increase, and after that private players can invest there. Understood?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Some other queries from participants?
Yes, sir. Myself, Sheikh from Ahmednagar, Maharashtra. Sir, at particular distance, there is a need of charging station. So, can you tell me how much distance is allowable between two charging stations? Is there any provision for that?
Sorry, I didn't get you properly, Mr. Sheikh.
Sir, my question is, for charging your electric vehicle, there is a need of charging stations. Okay.
Okay.
So, what is the minimum distance in between two charging stations? Because there is a need of network. Because these stations are connected with your transmission system. So, what is the actual minimum distance between two charging stations? Because everywhere you cannot set up this charging station along the road.
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, in cities it should be within a 3 to 3 kilometer radius, and in highways it should be around 25 kilometer per radius. It's the government norm, as far as I know. But it shouldn't be like that. Like you said, there should be a study. As I told earlier, we should conduct a study where to actually place it. Ideal location of EV charging stations. That is actually a study conducted by many people now. That's a research topic actually. Considering all the
I agree with you, sir. Suppose I want to install my own charging stations, so I want permission from the government.
No.
Okay.
No.
It's
a delicensed activity. You can go start the charging station.
Okay. Sir.
Yes, participants, any other queries? Charisma Maria ma'am, are you there? Charisma Maria ma'am. Divyanath ma'am, can you please give a feedback to Sajin Ismail? Divyanath ma'am? I request anyone of the participants to step forward and give your feedback regarding this session. I don't know why you participants are so hesitant to come forward and even give a feedback. Yes, sir, Sheikh sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, this is my second session I have attended in 2 days by our speaker, speaker Sajin sir. He delivered his presentation in a nice way, explained each and every point in detail. I am thankful to him, and he may be continue in coming 2 days also for the FDB. Thank you very much.
That is really great appreciation for Sajin.
I am Premlata.
Even I requested.
The session is
yes,
informative, sir. The session is more informative, sir. Nice presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Even Sajin is busy with his work schedule, so this also he took leave and he came for us for these 2 sessions.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Anyway, I'm very thankful to him. During the session, he has evidently explained the distinguishing features between public and private charging station, AC and DC charging, and the major role of state and central nodal agencies. In addition to that, he had very clearly explained the step-by-step procedures to set up a public charging station. With that information, now we very well know that if we are in need of setting up of a private charging stations, definitely we can contact him so that he will provide us with the technical support. Thank you, Sajin. Thank you for your wonderful sessions.
Thank
You
you very
really
much.
had in fact, I would like to say that you're the backbone of this FDP, because the participants also must know that it is he who has arranged for me all the other speakers also. In fact, among the 14 speakers, he has arranged for me 8 speakers. So I am really thankful to Sajin for helping me with this. Thank you, Sajin. Thank you.
Yeah, excuse me, sir. Sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes.
So for actually for that electric charging station, normally if we go for a petrol station, usually the queue will be there. To fill up the tank, actually it will not take more than 2 to 3 minutes. But if we set up infrastructure, EV charging infrastructure, where even though if we go for fast charging, it will take around 20 to 25 minutes. And moreover, the concern is usually metro people only will opt for electric vehicles, not the rural people. So in this case, how the infrastructure will accommodate that so many number of electric vehicles? Any idea, sir?
Actually, I don't think that it will only accommodate the metro people. Once the people start using the electric vehicle, they understand that it is a quite nice vehicle to have, and the price is when the price is coming down, the people will move on to it. Because, as I told again, it's not like a fuel. It's like you for a petrol or diesel vehicle, you have to go to the fuel station. Now it is not required. You can charge it at your home. If you are actually going to your office to 10 to 12 kilometer radius every day, you don't need to the charging station at all. Only if you are traveling to a longer distance, you need some stations in between. Then only that is the only requirement. So the conversion to electric vehicle is not at all a problem, and even rural anyone can adopt to it. In three-wheelers, I told you, it is the most profitable one to move around. But the problem here is the vehicle value has to come down. Again, as you said, the fast charging, it is not 25. It will take more than 40 to 45 for full charging. But again, when the technology is being upgraded, when the C rate of the battery will come down and the power density will also improve, you can charge with the 6C rate, you can charge by 10 minutes. Full charging can be done. The technology will advance, but again, the fuel here is electricity, so that gives a lot of freedom for the users to have it from anywhere. It may take time, but you will get the fuel.
And moreover, the technology, storage technologies keep on changing. Previously, you were relied on lead acid. Now we people are talking about lithium ion. Now Reliance and Tata is coming for hydrogen fuel. So this uncertainty is a little bit spoiling that electric vehicle, I think.
No, I don't. I actually, when I talk to the manufacturers across the state, what I understand is demand for electric vehicle is increasing. If the pandemic is not there, it should have been raised in a heavier way. We are getting a lot of inquiries from a lot of aspirants who would like to take electric vehicles. So when we will set up this many charging stations, the growth is actually very good. It is phenomenal, and we are expected to have like a conversion to 30 to 40% within a period of like 6 to 7 years. And this is going to happen. Hydrogen may come, some other will come, but lithium ion is the battery, but only some component. That is that slide I haven't kept here. So the C rate and the alloys that they incorporate in that, like sir said earlier, this chemical technology, when it will improve, the charging time will reduce, but the infrastructure, there is no change in the technology of charging. Only the battery will change. It is not going to affect the infrastructure also.
Thank you, sir. May I know what are all the innovation taking place in your organization regarding that charging, sir?
Actually, we told you, na, this is the charging station. Apart from that, we are trying to put it in pole mounts, in distribution poles also, so that people can access it easily. And we are trying to develop some business models so that everyone can participate in setting up charging stations, and EV infrastructure, EV manufacturers also can invest like that. We are not a purely research organization. We are a utility company. So what we will try to do is to make this thing happen, and try those people who are interested in research and they're coming with ideas, we are helping them. So people coming with new technologies, we are considering it, and we are trying to implement it as pilot projects across the state.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, participants, any other queries? Yes, Sajin.
Okay.
Okay, fine, Sajin. Thank you. Thank you once again for a wonderful session.
Okay, thank you, Renu.
Hope to see you soon in the advanced level of this FDP also, which is planned for December.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully, thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yes, participants. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and your spending your time wisely for attending this FDP. Even for tomorrow's sessions also, we are having 3 speakers, and those 3 speakers are also chosen according to the needs of the title. Hope the sessions will never demotivate you. This will be the sessions will always try to upgrade your knowledge regarding the EV charging and their impact on power grid. Okay. So bye for today. Hope to see you soon. Tomorrow morning, first session begins at 9 o'clock. So all the participants are requested to present at 9 o'clock itself. Thank you. Bye. Attendance for session 3 is already shared. I have shared it several times. I am sharing it once again. Another thing which I wish to share is if anybody is having any difficulties, like official difficulties in attending the function, they must inform me personally so that I can arrange the attendance for them. Please do it only for genuine reasons. Among the 200 participants, we were having only 126 participants today. So expecting some more participants to join for tomorrow. Thank you all. See you tomorrow.